Today on Bookardy, we're bringing back contestants that have never won before.
Yeah, that's me. Hello Bookworm family, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Danny. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell because I post every Sunday and an occasional Wednesday right now that I'm back on track. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, please be sure to do that. It is at _dancing_bookworm. I post on there full book reviews and bookish content, which is also going to start getting back on track very soon. So guys, I am so sorry. I have been absentee. I posted a video explanation, but if you guys didn't get a chance to watch it, basically I'm a dance instructor and my studio, because of COVID-19, had to push our entire recital back by a month. So normally our season ends at the end of June. Things are always crazy in June, but not only were things crazy in June, they're also crazy in July because we had to push our recital back. So basically we finally got back into the studio. We were finally training again all together and kind of had to reblock numbers with kids who parents weren't comfortable with them dancing yet, which was totally fine. But we had to do some reblocking. We had to do some fandangling the schedule. We had to find a new place to perform, and it was just really crazy, but it is over and I am so happy with how it turned out. And it was definitely a unique and crazy dance recital, nothing I have ever done before, because it was outside at a park in very hot conditions, and we were there for 10 hours so that kids could come in 15-minute shifts and perform, and it was just a lot of work and it was very tiring, but it was very worth it. I'm glad my kids got some closure to the season, and we are about to blast into our summer classes, but summer classes aren't as stressful, so I know I will have more time to read, which is really nice. But yeah, basically July was kind of a bust reading wise. I did read or plan to read over the next week, which is all I have left of the month, a couple more books to kind of plow through some of this TBR, but by the end of it there will still be 4 books that I did not get to. So for this round of Bookardy, which is, I'm glad that I'm back on a Bookardy episode because I really couldn't think of ideas to post because everything was so crazy. So I'm glad that I can just start fresh with Bookardy and post from here. Basically, out of the books that I read, there are still going to be 4 that I don't get to even by the end of the month. So we're going to talk about those really quick. I feel like I'm not really making sense. I should probably mention that it's 11:30 at night and I'm filming this because I have people coming here tomorrow, and I was like, I don't really know if I'm gonna have time to film and edit and post this, and I want to be back on track, so decided let's do it at 11:30 at night. Also, I turned off my air conditioning, but if you guys hear a weird sound in the background, it is my new fish tank. I have fish now. I have 4 little tetra fish, and they are my pride and joy, but I can't turn off their fish tank. So sorry if you can hear that in the background. But anyways, let's get into the books from last month and the ones that I got to and the ones that I didn't. So the very first book that I read was actually an ebook, and it was a graphic novel that I had on my Kindle, and it was called This One Summer, and that was for the graphic novel prompt that I had last month. Then we had this stack of books. I did read Frindle by Andrew Clements, and that was for, I think it was a one-word title. Yeah, so it was one-word title. I did read I Survived Hurricane Katrina, which was a short read, and that's by Lauren Tarshish. I did not finish yet, but I am currently reading Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, and that was for an audiobook, which I am listening to an audiobook right now, and am over halfway through, so it'll definitely be done by the end of this month. I just literally finished an hour ago reading The Night Olivia Fell by Christina McDonald, and that was for, I don't even remember what these prompts were, for Mom Pick. That's the book my mom picked. I do plan to read over the next week Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake, and that was for a 5-star prediction. And I do also plan to read The Art of Being Normal, which was for a standalone book, and that is by Lisa Williamson. So these two I plan to read by the end of the week, so I don't have to pick extra books for those. So that brings us to the books that I did not read and don't plan on getting to by the end of the month. I set the other ones down because I was getting heavy. The first one is a book that I have on my Kindle, and it is The Greatest Game Ever Played, and that was for a Disney adapted book, and it's like 500 pages long, so I know I'm not going to get to that this month. Then I have The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. And this was for an author not from the US. Then I have A Whole New World by, is this one Liz Braswell? Yeah, by Liz Braswell, and that was for the next in a collection. And then I had Bleeding Earth by Caitlin Ward, which was for a book that the main color is in the rainbow. So those 4 books I am not going to get to by the end of July. So because of that, I'm going to give myself some grace like I did last month with Bookardy. And if I can find a way to fit one of those 4 books into a prompt, then I'm not going to have to do an extra roll for it. However, if I can't fit it into one of the prompts that I pick this month, I will have to do an extra roll for it at the end. So I hope this all makes sense. I'm like really tired. I'm just realizing how tired I am, but I want to get through this video, so bear with me, guys. But yeah, so I did read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books, 7 actually, because one of them, 8. I have read 8 because one of them was not on the TBR and one of them was an ebook. Well, I haven't read 2 of them yet, but I will read them by the end of the month. So not too bad, but not my best month by far. So I am bummed that I didn't get to the 4 that I didn't get to because I did really want to read those. So I am hoping I can get them on my TBR for this month. Anyway, that brings us to Bookardy. Woo, we got there. I am really all over the place. I am so sorry, but you guys are forgiving, so you'll understand. So basically how Bookardy works is I am going to take my little electronic dice. I'm going to roll it, and if I roll a 1, that is a silver card. Those are the easy prompts. 2 is orange, which are kind of like easy-ish, but has like some specifications to it. Blue is like middle of the road prompts, and that's if I roll a 3. If I roll a 4, I have a pink card, which are hardish, and 5s are like really hard prompts, and 6 I get to pick myself. So I can pick from the genres of sci-fi fantasy, contemporary realistic, mystery, historical, nonfiction memoir, or miscellaneous, which means I can pick any genre I want. So basically, I roll the dice, I pick a card that correlates that dice in a genre of my choosing, and I have to find a book that matches up with the prompt. If I roll the same number 3 times, I have to pick a dreaded black card. The black cards have ridiculous prompts on it that are anything that ranges from like dress up as a character while you read this book to like you have to pick an entire new TBR after you've already picked all your books to like you have to double the TBR, like everything you plan to read you now have to double. Also, if I can't fit one of the 4 books, which is The Greatest Game Ever Played, The Train to Impossible Places, A Whole New World, or Bleeding Earth into this TBR, then I then have to add an extra roll for those because I did not finish them in the month of July. Anyways, I hope all that makes sense. So without further ado, let's get into the rolling. So my first roll is going to be a 4. So a 4 is a pink card, and I'm going to pick, okay, so I want to try to fit one of these books in. Oh, I should also mention I have no readathons, no buddy reads, no like reading rivalry. I am just having a month of myself for August, so I am not going to try to pressure myself to do any specifics here other than trying to fit the 4 books that I would otherwise need extra rolls for into this. So, all 3 of these are sci-fi fantasy, and then Greatest Game Ever Played is a nonfiction. So I'm gonna go sci-fi fantasy, and I rolled a 4, so that's a pink. So let's see. This says, a new to me author. This is pretty easy because 2 of these are new to me authors. So we're just gonna go with Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell because I really want to get to those. It's been highly acclaimed by Gavin on How to Train Your Gavin, so I'm interested to read it because I trust his recommendations. There's not a lot about this book, so I don't really know what it involves. The back just says a train that travels through impossible places, a boy trapped in a snow globe, and a girl who's about to go on the adventure of a lifetime. That is literally all the information I have about this book. So not only is the book kind of new to me and the author kind of new to me, like the whole concept is new to me. So we're going to do that for a new to me author. I like when I don't even have to stand up and go look at my bookshelf and they're right next to me. So let's do the next roll. We don't want a 4, so I have a 2. Okay, so 2 is orange, and I'm going to again go with sci-fi fantasy because I'm trying to get these ones off as much as possible. Alright, so, okay. A book with an outsider main character. This one's going to take me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so perfectly... Bleeding Earth actually works perfectly with outsider main character because literally one of the lines on the back of the book says that she wishes to be a normal teen again. But obviously that's not happening. So this book is about a girl named Leah who just has just gotten into a new relationship with a girl named Arsley, and the earth starts bleeding out of cemeteries. Sorry guys, my white balance is really bad when the poster board's in the background. But the earth has started bleeding out of cemeteries. Nobody really knows what's going on, but it's kind of like coming to life and turning into a monster. So I think Leah has to try to save herself and her girlfriend in any way possible from the earth that is bleeding and like turning into a monster. So yeah, makes sense. So I'm going to use that one for outsider main character. So let's do our next roll. Oh, I don't even think I've said that I only do 7 rolls unless I have an extra roll. So here's roll number 3. We have a 6, so that means I get to pick whatever I want. And I think I'm going to go with the easy sci-fi fantasy prompt. That just seems right. Sorry guys, I'm really sticking to this side of the board this month because I really want to get these books in at least. So this is nephew pick. So my nephew is sleeping right now. So I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow to see what he picks because he's asleep and I'm not going to wake him up for this. So... Okay, so I have 5 choices for my nephew to pick from in the morning when he wakes up, and I only give him 5 choices because I feel like if I was just like, pick a book off my shelf, he would just pick anything he stinking wanted to. So I have found 5 sci-fi mystery or sci-fi fantasies for him to choose from, and he can pick one of those. So the first one that he can pick, and I'm hoping he picks this one because it's super short, and I read it in like 4th grade, and it was ridiculous, and my mom and I still talk about it today because it's so ridiculous, is Banicula, A Rabbit Tale of Mystery. This is by How and How, Deborah and James Howe. So this is about a dog and a cat who think that the new family pet rabbit is a vampire. So hoping he picks this one because I've read it before. It's only like 100 pages and I could like fly through it in a day. The next one that I have for him to pick from is Inkling, and this is by Kenneth Opel, and this is about a boy who like has like this like ink blot that is trying to help him, and when he comes off the page he can turn into anything he wants to help this boy in his life. So that's probably a really bad description of that book, but that's kind of what it's about. So this is the book that I think he's going to pick because it has a cat on it, but this is Warriors Into the Wild by Aaron Hunter, and this is the first of the Warrior books that people have been asking me to read for forever, and I have just not gotten around to, and it's something about like warrior cats. Obviously, it says for generations 4 clans of cats have shared the forest, but Thunder Clan is in grave danger and Shadow Clan grows stronger every day. In the midst of this turmoil appears a house cat named Rusty, who may turn out to be the bravest warrior of them all. So I feel like this is the one he's going to end up picking because it has a cat on it, but we'll see. I'm still hoping he picks Banicula. I picked Banicula because I was like, oh, maybe a bunny. So the next one I picked for him to pick from is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the first book, The Lightning Thief. This is by Rick Riordan because I have never actually read the series and I loved the movie and I've heard that the book is way better than the movie. But if you guys don't know what this is about Percy who finds out that he is the son of a god and he goes to a camp for kids who are demigods and he discovers that somebody has stole lightning and he has to go retrieve it, or they think he stole the lightning, or something like that. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but it's along those lines. And then the last one that he can pick from is Pegasus, Olympus at War by Kate O'Hearn. This is from one of my dancers. She lent me the first book of the series. I liked it. I gave it like a 3-star rating, and she wants me to read the second book because she said the second book is better. So this is just kind of a follow-up to that, but the first book is basically about a girl named Emily who discovers a Pegasus, and her and the Pegasus can have like a really like strong bond, and she's trying to get it home to Mount Olympus. Basically is what's happening. So those are the 5 books that he can pick from. I hope he picks Bunnicula, but I think he's going to pick Into the Wild. I didn't put any of my Twisted Tale books on here because I knew instantly he would pick a Twisted Tale book because he would recognize the character. So I wanted to give him something kind of neutral to pick from, so we will see when he wakes up in the morning what book he's going to pick, and I will put that clip right here.
Okay, so Jacob is very busy with our friends downstairs, and he did not want to come up. So Riley is going to do nephew pick for me. So we've changed nephew pick to niece pick. So I'm going to lay out books right here and have her pick which one I should read. And obviously she doesn't know what they're about because she's 1, so let's see. Riley, which book? Which one? Down with the bunny? Yay! That's the one Aunt Danny wanted, the bunny book. Good girl. So Riley picked Bunnicula, A Rabbit Tale of a Mystery.
Okay, so we are on to roll number 4. So we don't want to roll a 2, a 4, or a 6 because we don't want to get the same number 3 times because that's scary. And we have a 4. Of course we do. Why wouldn't we have a 4? Great. Alright, so I'm going to go with 4 nonfiction because I want to try to work in the greatest game ever played. So, I also have other books that people have asked me to read, like authors and stuff have asked me to read, and I just haven't gotten to, so I'd also like to work those in. So we have a retelling. A retelling nonfiction? Is that, like, a thing? I'm going to have to see, because I put these cards up at random, so I don't even know if this is possible. So, give me a second. Okay, so this was really hard to find a book for because normally a retelling is like a retelling of like an already existing like fantastical story, like A Whole New World is a retelling of Aladdin. So this was hard because it's a nonfiction retelling. So I looked it up and they said some examples would be like if an author wrote a book that was retelling their own story in like a more fictitious way. So for this, I am going to be reading The Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder. This is the second book in the Little House on the Prairie series. I read Little House in the Big Woods a couple months back and it was pretty cute. It's fairly simple. It's like a children's classic, so it shouldn't be too hard to read, but yeah, it was really hard to find a prompt for. This one specifically is the Big Woods is getting too crowded, so Pa sold the little log house and built a covered wagon, and they are moving to Indian country. They travel all the way from Wisconsin to Oklahoma, and there Pa built a little house on the prairie. So it was about moving from her original house to a bigger house on the prairie. So I'll probably listen to this on audiobook because that's what I did for the last one, and it's really well told on audiobook. So yeah, that was really hard to find a book for, so that's what I went with. So let's do our next roll. My dice turned itself off, so now I have to pull it back up. So we don't want a 4 because we've had 2 4s, and if we get another 4, we have to do an extra roll. So, or no, if we get another 4, it's not an extra roll. We have to pick a black card, which is like way worse than an extra roll. I wish I had just done an extra roll. That would have made sense. A 3. Okay, we haven't had a 3 yet, so that's good. So 3 is blue, and I'm going to go with, I'm going to go nonfiction memoir again because I really want to try to work in the greatest game ever played. So we have text a friend. I also think my best friend is sleeping because it's late. I can text her and find out, but yeah, I think she's sleeping. But we'll text her and find out in the morning, I guess. I'm going to give her options this time because last time she picked a book that was not even on my shelf. So this time she's getting options because I can't afford to buy a book right now. So Okay, so I gave my best friend 3 choices because that's really the only nonfiction memoirs that I haven't read on my shelf. Normally, I get like a nonfiction or a memoir because I want to read it right away. I don't normally leave them like hanging around on my shelf, so I only have 3. So the first one is The Greatest Game Ever Played by Mark Frost, and that is the ebook that I was supposed to read last month, so if she picks that, I don't have to pick an extra book, but probably won't know till morning, so I might have to pick an extra book anyway. But if she picks that, that is about a caddy who is offered to go up against one of the greatest golfers ever, and he thinks he can beat them, and it's like a historical, obviously, historical real thing that happened. My dad talked about it for forever. I really don't know what the outcome was, but my dad always wanted me to like watch the movie or read the book, so that's kind of why it's on there. Then I have January 1st by Michael Schofield, and this is about a girl who is like, I think she's diagnosed with one of the severe, like most severe cases of early onset schizophrenia. And she's like really like driven mad by it, and her father's like doing everything possible to get her the right care and the right solutions, so it's kind of their family story. And then this is the one that I think she's gonna pick. It is They Poured Fire on Us from the Sky by Benson Deng, Elephantine Deng, and Benjamin Ajak. I can't say those names, so sorry if I butchered them. But this is about, I think it's 3 boys who came from the Sudan between 1987 and 1989. Sorry, I'm kind of reading the back because I don't really know what it's about. And it said tens of thousands of boys took flight from the massacre of the Sudan Civil War. They became known as the Lost Boys, and it's kind of just their story, I guess, of these 3 boys. It says the true story of 3 lost boys from Sudan. So she's been trying to get me to read this for a long time because she had to read it for school and she thought it was really good. So I think this is the one she's going to pick, but it could be any of them. I don't really know which one she's going to choose until the morning, so I was hoping she's up, but I'm looking at my phone and she's not answering, so I don't think she's awake anymore. But yeah, so it'll be one of those. I think if by the end of this, the greatest game that ever played doesn't come up, I'm just going to pick an extra book because, I mean, I should be reading more anyway, so, but yeah, either way, I'm probably going to pick an extra book for that, but she might pick that one, so I'll let you guys know in the morning which one she ends up picking.
So my best friend texted me back, and she did choose They Poured Fire on Us from the Sky, and I knew she was going to pick that, so I'm excited to read this one because she's told me a lot of good things about it, but boy, is it kind of chunky. Dang, how many pages is this? Okay, only 311. It just seems bigger than I thought it was.
Okay, so it is time for our 6th roll, and if I can't get A Whole New World and The Greatest Game Ever Played in the next 2 rolls, then I'm going to have to pick other books, and I really don't want to keep picking sci-fi, fantasy, and nonfiction, so I'm probably just going to have to do the extra rolls. But yeah, if number 4 comes up again, we also have to pick a black card, so I'm like getting nervous now. Now Bookardy's not being so nice, so. We have a 5, okay, that's not bad, but it is the hardest prompts to find something for, so I want to get these 2 books in here, but I don't think it's going to happen either way, so I think I'm just going to pick contemporary realistic. And we have An Absent or Estranged Familial or Personal Relationship. So that is very specific, which is why it's one of the 5-pointer ones, because I can't think of, well, I can think of a couple off the top of my head, but they're big books. Do I want to go big book? I don't have any little books on here, and I don't know what my nephew or my friend's gonna pick, so, alright, I'm gonna go look. Okay, so for Absent, Estranged, Familial, or Personal Relationship, which is very specific in the contemporary realistic category, I picked Emancipated by M.G. Reyes. This has been on my TBR so many times, and it's gotten skipped over so many times because it's kind of chunky, not like really, but like not tiny either, but it is also the lowest rated on my Goodreads. Like I think it has like a rating of like a 3.1 or something like that. Like it's not a good rating, so I'm hesitant. I did pick this up at the dollar store a long time ago, but this is basically about a bunch of kids who have been emancipated from their families and they're kind of like come together to create their own little family, but not everyone is telling the truth and they are having regrets and stuff like that. So it should be an interesting read. I'm hoping I actually get to it this month. Maybe I'll make it a priority because it has been on my TBR like 1,000 times. So. And we are on roll number 7. So if we roll a 4, we have to pick a black card. But if we can't fit in A Whole New World or The Greatest Game Ever Played into this roll, then we also have to do 2 more rolls. So we'll see if I can fit it in. And we have... Oh, no. I swear this dice is out to get me. We have a 4, so I have to pick a pink card, which is a 4, and that is my 3rd time that 4 has come up, so that means I also have to pick a black card, which will have a punishment on it. So, great. Let's pick the book first, and then we'll get into the punishment. Plus, if I don't fit this in, which sci-fi and fantasy is taken and nonfiction memoir is taken in the pink cards, so there's no way I can fit these 2 books that I had to fit in anyway, so I will have to do 2 extra rolls too. So, great, awesome. Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Anyway, so I'm gonna go. Let's go historical, because I have some short historical books that I could probably get through pretty easily. And we have TBR Vet, so a historical TBR Vet. I know I have a bunch of these, so it's just a matter of which one I pick. So for TBR Vet, for historical, I have picked The Devil's Arithmetic by Jane Yolen. I did read this back in 7th grade. I don't know if I got all the way through it. But I know that I read some of it at least, and this is about a girl who is celebrating Passover with her family. When she opens the door to symbolically let Elijah in, she is accidentally transported to the year 1942 in Poland, and she must survive the Holocaust. So it's a little historical fantasy kind of thing, but I do remember it being an intense book, and I can't remember, like, if I liked it or not, but I bought this probably back when I started doing BookTube because I knew I wanted to reread it and I just never got around to reading it, so it definitely qualifies as TBR Vet. So the next thing we have to do is we have to pick our black card because we have rolled 4 3 times. Now, I said in the last video, now if I roll a number 3 times, it's not going to count towards the black card because we could be here all day, so it's just the first time I roll a number 3 times. Anyway, my punishment is going to be read an entire book not in my bedroom. That's hard for me because really the only place I like to read is in my bedroom, so this will have to be a this will have to be a punishment that I fulfill as I'm reading one of these books. So it's not one that you guys get to see happen right now, but I will film myself doing this in the future. So yeah, I will have to read an entire book somewhere else. I don't even know where I would read a book because the only quiet place is my bedroom. So maybe my family is going out of town. So maybe when they're out of town, I could like read in the living room. That's actually not a horrible prompt for the month of August. So yeah. So that will be my punishment. So now we have 2 extra rolls because I could not fit those 2 books into the prompts that I had. So let's get it rolling. We got 2 more to go. A 6. So my choice. So basically this means I do not have to read A Whole New World or The Greatest Game Ever Played unless that's the one that my best friend chooses, but I doubt it will be. I'm like 90% sure she's going to choose They Poured Fire on Us from the Sky. But I can pick anything now, but I do really want to read A Whole New World, so if I can fit it in, I'll fit it in, but I can pick whatever I want. And I think I'm going to go easy, and I'm going to do a miscellaneous in the easy category. A mood read. I can read, it's miscellaneous and a mood read. That means I get to pick anything I want. So I know most people, when they pick a mood read, they like decide in the moment what they want to read because that's like the point of a mood read, but I know me and I know what books I want to mood read, and I've been like staring at them for months and months and months and being like, when will that come up on Bookardy? So I'm gonna go pick one of those books right now and put that as my mood read. So for mood read, I kind of just went over to my shelf and whatever one caught my eye first is what I went with, and I picked 2 Night Owl from Dogfish by Holly Goldberg Sloan and Meg Wolitzer. So I bought this a couple months ago was it a couple months ago? No, it was like last month at Barnes & Noble, and it is about two girls who are complete opposites, and their dads end up falling in love and send them to the same camp so that they can start getting to know each other, but they don't really like each other. It kind of sounds a little bit like a modern take on Parent Trap almost. Like, they obviously don't look alike or anything, but they like have to go to camp and learn to get along so that their parents can be happy, kind of thing. So kind of reminds me of that. It's told in like emails and text messages and stuff like that, so it seems like a really easy read, and yeah, it just kind of caught my attention, so I'm gonna go with this for mood read. And that officially brings us into our last roll. I have to say there's not like a book on here other than Two Night Owl from Dogfish that I'm like jumping up and down excited to read, so I'm hoping whatever this last roll is, it's something that I'm gonna be like, ooh, yay, I get to read that. They're just kind of all like I'm looking and they're just kind of like all like dark books, like not like all the content is dark, but like the covers are all very dark, and I like a pop of color. I mean, obviously like this one is my pop of color, but like a second pop of color would be nice. So last roll, let's find out what we get. Another 6, so another my choice here, and I think I'm gonna go with what do I want to go with? So let's go, I don't even know. I don't even know. Let's go mystery. I'm either going to love this or hate this because that's how I feel about mysteries all the time. Ask Instagram. So I'm going to do an Instagram poll, and I will put the results at the end of the video so you guys can see which one Instagram picks. So most of these books this month are not even my choices. But yeah, so I have to find some mysteries to put up as Instagram polls. So let's see what I can find. Okay, so I had too many choices for Instagram to just choose between 2 books because I have to be extra like that. So I have 2 middle grade books, 2 YA books, and 2 adult books, and they're going to go up in separate polls. So everybody's going to be choosing between the 2 middle grade books, between the 2 YA books, and between the 2 adult books, and then the winners of those will go head to head against each other in like a couple final rounds, and ultimately a winner will be chosen. So I'll post all those somewhere in this video so you can see the results, but the 2 middle grade books that are going to be going head to head is The Blue Poodle Mystery. This is the first book of the Bobbsey Twin series by Laura Lee Hope, and basically a poodle who is dripping with blue paint goes missing, and the Bobbsey twins must find out who did it. And Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library by Chris Gabernstein. This is about a boy who gets locked in a library that is made by a famous game maker, and it's basically like a giant escape room, and he has to figure out how to get out. The 2 YA books I have are Pretty Little Liars by Sarah Shepard and The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. Pretty Little Liars is basically about 4 girls whose best friend dies, and they are receiving mysterious messages from somebody named A, which is also the name of their best friend who is dead. And they know secrets about them that only the dead best friend knew, so they're trying to figure out who A is. And The Lovely Bones is about a girl who is kidnapped and murdered, and her family's trying to figure out who did it, and I think it takes place from her perspective. I've heard this is really dark and really sad, so kind of hoping this one doesn't get picked, but I've also had it on my TBR for a really long time, and I do want to get to it, so if it gets picked, I'm just going to have to grab the tissues, I guess. And then the adult books that I have are Hidden Bodies by Carolyn Kepnes and Final Girls by Riley Sager. Hidden Bodies is the sequel to You, which is also by Carolyn Kepnes, about a stalker named Joe who falls madly in love with a girl and thinks that they're in a relationship together and doesn't really super like her, but is just obsessed with her, and this is the sequel to that. And then Final Girls is about, I think it's about like people at camp. I don't actually know what this one's about. I've read the other book that people said this one's really similar to, but it says, first there were 3, then there were 2. Can there only ever be one final girl? 10 years ago, college student Quincy Carpenter went on vacation with 5 friends and came back alone. And I think they're trying to solve the mystery of what happened there. So those are the books that I'm going to put up on a poll, and then like, let's say Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library wins that round and Pretty Little Liars wins that round, then these 2 would go head to head. and then Pretty Little Liars wins, and Final Girls wins, then these two would go head to head, and then that would be the book that I pick, if that makes sense. I'm just indecisive, and I couldn't pick even 2 books. So
after many rounds, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Graberstein has won the Instagram poll. I'm excited to read this one, and this is the one that I wanted, so I'm glad.
Those are the books that I'm going to be reading in August, so let's stack them up. Not that I know a lot of them at this point, but you guys will know which ones they are now, because you will have seen the video. I just don't know, while I'm filming this moment, what books are going to be picked. So let's stack them up and see. Okay, so we have 9 books that I'll be reading this month. So we have Bleeding Earth, which is by Caitlin Ward and will be representing an outsider character. We have The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell, which will be representing a new-to-me author. I have a blank book here, which will be whatever my nephew picks, which I will write right here, right now, so you guys know what he picked. Then I have Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder as a retelling. I have a blank space here for whatever my friend picks, one of the memoirs that she will be picking from, so that's that one. I have Emancipated, which represents an absentee or estranged familial relationship. I have, and that's by M.G. Reyes. I have The Devil's Arithmetic by, who wrote that one? I forget. Jane Yolen, and that is representing a TBR vet. I have Two Night Owl from Dogfish by Holly Goldberg Sloan and Meg Wolitzer, which is my mood read, and then I have this one on top representing my Instagram poll. So we will see what books get picked. I mean, you guys know now, but I don't know. So I'm excited to see. I still have books that are kind of a mystery to me, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!
Wasn't that a great video? Clearly books make me very happy. Now you can make me happy too. Click the subscribe button to follow my channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you think I did good. And the notification bell will let you know when I post new content. Also, follow my Instagram for more book shenanigans.